Well, so the main driver, this isn't something that we came up with in 6 months. I mean, this has all been in the works. There's been design drawings and everything for, many years, even prior to me. And Tuffhead's been around for 12 years, and we've never changed anything. It's been the same. It's had a cult following, and it's been doing fantastic for over a decade. But quite frankly, everyone else is making new broadheads and having fun. I want to have fun too. I want to make new broadheads, and that's what kind of drove all this. Unfortunately, the way our broadheads are built now, the classic, they're two pieces, like everybody knows, and they're welded and brazed and all that stuff. And the starting point of this, the main genesis of this whole thing is, it's stamped and pressed out, and then we take it from there. So in order to make all these different prototypes and you would have to have different dies for every single one of them, and those dies they're not cheap, and they cost a lot of money. And you better know what you want by the time you make dies and get stamping them.
Yeah.
So that's why we started playing around with two piece, and then we went into the monolithic one piece, which we found production wise, and actually, as far as strength, it was the way to go. So that's what kind of drove all this from the two pieces, which like Jason Samkoviak had at one point, and some of the other teasers that were on there. We have those, but the problem was the production of those was, we really weren't accomplishing much, as far as what we were doing originally.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of the thing that drives us too is production rates and keeping production up. We were having troubles last year, as a lot of people were, with, keeping up with the demand, right? So, these being hand built, they just take more time. So they're still going to be around, and we're going to produce as many as we can. But the new line, with them being CNC machined out of one piece and everything, we'll be able to pump more and more and more out, and be able to stock and have more out there for the customers and stuff. So that was another reason why we switched over to the monolithic.
I was about to say, when you take a small little traditional company and then all of a sudden introduce it to a huge compound market, just because of the compound market's going right now. And I can't imagine how busy or what type of load you guys all suddenly developed as the heavy arrow thing is developing in the car.
Yeah, and that was the second part behind a lot of this is, yes, we are rooted in traditional. I will always be rooted in the traditional, even though I show you shooting the compound every once in a while, things like that. And most of the time, that's just for testing. But we wanted to branch out, and we wanted the modern archers to start using our product, and they're all starting to realize that high FOC, high momentum, heavy broadheads are more ethical, and they get the job done a lot cleaner and a lot faster. I mean, the emails I've been getting this year from success from the compound guys is phenomenal. I mean, we talked about that last time. So that drove all this too, because there's a lot bigger customer base with compound guys than there is traditional. So I got to produce more heads too. So that's how the one piece came around. And then, what we did, Schaefer, is we started with what's the most common, right? What would be the most common heads to bring out first, so we obviously the single bevel, that's what we do, heavyweight single bevels. And we chose a few of the designs we have drawn up, and we started going in on those and producing production and things like that, and going in R&D, and we settled on the two single bevels now, which are going to be two separate lines like we discussed, and went from there. So I just felt like my hands were sort of tied with the way the production was originally. So I wanted to branch out. We went into the modern style of making these things to bring Tuffhead into, it evolves Tuffhead into the new realm of broadheads, which is what the name of the new line is. It's the Evolution line, the Evolution series of Tuffhead. So that's where that all started and originated from. And we took all kinds of data testing, field experience, and saw what broadheads, what works, what doesn't work, and what can be improved upon. And that's what we did. That was the basis of everything, is we took, very, very, very well-rounded heads and just basically perfected upon them, put our twists on them, and went from there.
How many prototypes and designs do you think you've been through over the last year?
Probably just the last year, I would say 10 maybe 12 different designs. And some of them we didn't even run big batches. It might have been 2 or 3 heads, you know what I mean? So yeah, and it cost me a lot of money. I mean, we had a good year, so I was able to put more money into R&D last year. So I wasn't planning on bringing any of this out probably for another year. I wanted to spend more time with it as far as production, perfecting the production rate and everything like that. But because the year was good as far as sales, it gave me more money to, you know, run with it for this year. So, you know, I thank everybody out there for the great sales last year, because it's bringing this badass line out. I mean, it is really. Yeah, that's how that all started.
Didn't you say it was like 2 hours when you sold out, when you uploaded or like
the last since, what was it? Not August, but September, when we were doing inventory reloads, we sold out every time from there till December. We were selling out within 2 hours.
That's crazy.
Matter of fact, I just stocked and I didn't say anything because I just wanted some people to wander across it. So there is some restock, by the way, on the site, but I didn't even say anything. I just thought, let people find it. So, you know, it's been difficult. And that's what I'm saying with the way our heads are built now. They just, from start from the stamp till, you know, I'm packaging, it's a 3-month process. So you could imagine when you sell out, now you got to, you know, dig into the bucket of all the blanks and start welding. It just takes so much time, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. No, it doesn't mean we won't sell out of monolithics, you know, the evolutions. I mean, anything can happen. And then obviously we got to get back into a manufacturing queue and go from there. So this first year is going to be a test run of how the market, accepts it and everything like that. So, yeah.
I know every time I decide on which one I might want to try out, you post another teaser photo, and then it just
well, so the teaser photos are done. Okay, what I'm going to show everybody and you now is the first round of evolution broadheads. Okay, so these are the ones for 2021. We do have 2 that we're going to work on R&D probably in the summertime, like we did this year, pretty heavy. I have the final designs ready to get in the queue for R&D, but that'll be later in the year. So those will probably come out next year. So there'll be teasers later in the year for new stuff. So I'll keep you on your toes.
I was about to say, I feel like I was playing Wheel of Fortune. Whichever one it landed on is what I was going to probably try this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one. As a matter of fact, my head was spinning a few times because I was trying to narrow everything down because, like I said, my brain, I got a file full of broadhead designs. You know, testing results from like Troy Fowler and everything like that, and a lot of guys from the Ashby Foundation, and you know, we took a lot of field results and field tests because, you know, you can use science behind everything, but if it hasn't been proven in the field, you know, you need to prove it in the field first. So that's what, you know, we narrowed everything down to what we thought was definitely the heads to bring out. I mean, basically made them badass. I mean, that's about all I can say about these things are. So first and foremost, if you want, I'm just going to jump into them and show them, and then we can talk. You know, you can ask questions and stuff like that.
I'll try to let you know where the alignment is. I can tell you off of my screen, if you go between your logo on your wall and your head, it should be dead center.
Right here.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, yeah, because I can see my little screen. Okay, perfect. All right. So so one of the models in the new line is the 3-blade. Okay, so that was kind of a last minute thing, but I was getting so many emails about it. Like I said in the last podcast, we started focusing on it, and it was pretty easy, to be honest with you, with the perfect on and everything. And there's only so many ways you're going to make a 3-blade.
Exactly.
A lot of people are asking me if it's a single bevel 3-blade. No, it is not. We tried that. There was just so many problems with it. I think it could work, but I think it needs a lot more engineering.
I was about to say, do you think it could work?
Mass. There's just so much mass going through. You know what I mean? It just takes so much effort. It already takes a 3-blade, 1.5 times more effort at least to enter, to start, right? Because there's more mass right there. So now you're adding a twisting effect with these offset blades.
Sharpening would probably be a bit of a pain too.
Well, in the sharpening, and that's what it came down to too. It's like, okay, we could probably make this work, but how are people going to resharpen this? And that's always in the back of my mind because it's always a big complaint is resharpening. So
yeah.
we kind of shelf that one for a longer discussion. That's going to take maybe me getting another kind of engineer involved in some of this and see if we can create it. I mean, I know there's one on the market from some Australian company, and it's pretty cool design.
I feel like that'd be a very niche group that would want it too.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I don't see why it's necessary. I really don't. I mean, I think just to perfect
it'd make a nasty hole probably, just like cool looking, but whether
yeah,
it would.
Sure it would. Yeah, it would probably really look like a screw hole. But I'm just worried, with the penetration and all that force trying to push through, you'd have to be shooting an 85-pound compound with an 800 grain arrow or something to really utilize it for the for its best attributes. But so we kind of put that aside. So full disclaimer, these are not single bevel. I know we're a single bevel company. These are not single bevel broadheads. Okay. These are your standard three blade broadheads with our design implements into them. So you could see right here. Is that good?
Yep, that's perfect.
This is the 300 and this is the 200. So there's a little bit of a size comparison. Of course, there's going to be some differences because we had to shorten it a little bit.
Is the blade thickness the same on both of them?
No, they're ever so slight, and that's the thing. I didn't want to thin the blade out too much on the 200 grain.
Yeah.
The 300 grain is. Let me look at my notes because I have all this. So the 300 grain is 50 thousandths thick. Okay, the blades.
Yep.
It's one of the blades. Most of the competitors out there are in the 40s for something of this mass, but no one well. I think VPA makes a 300 backup for that. But and then the 200 is a 42 thickness blade thickness. I think a lot of the competitors are in the 30s for the 200. So you could see that this, we wanted to keep the mass and obviously strength is important to Tuffhead, so we want to do that. I'm going to just show you. So there's the two side by side comparisons. Now these are shot blasted. That you could see the features better. That's why I shot blasted these. You can really see a lot of the features that I'm going to point out. Are you getting good focus on that?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So I'm going to show you the 200, the features in the 200 because they're pretty pronounced. So in the 200, one thing we definitely did which is almost a Tuffhead standard, is the oversized furl in the rear. So when it matches up with your arrow, you know what I mean?
Did you go like 23/64 back there again? Like,
well, no, this is 350.
All right.
So it's 0.350, okay, which 11/30 seconds is 0.344 whatever. Okay, so it's a little bit oversized even for a crossbow bolt.
Okay.
Which I'm going to get into that in a second. So in a sense, these will line up with a crossbow bolt as well. All the heads, the whole line is basically crossbow compatible. And what that does, which we could talk about, it affects the single bevels a lot more. Is when that enters and starts opening, it opens up the center of the wound channel, and also it eliminates any kind of what doesn't eliminate, but it helps aid in reducing the penetration friction over the arrow shaft. So that is in all of our broadheads, obviously including the original. That's what started all that. So that is actually a patent pending design, believe it or not. I actually filed for a patent for that because the dimension and the way we design it is a Tuffhead attribute. So. And then from there, basically, we you can see that the inner rib is raised. Okay, I'm calling this the inner rib. But would be the furrow on the two blade. The inner rib is raised, and it keeps a lot of the mass up in the towards the tip. So it actually gains you a ton of thickness in the tip. Okay.
All right.
And obviously it'll gain in structural integrity on twisting hits or anything like that. Now in the 300, this rib is raised even more. I mean, it's it's probably hard to tell, right? It's raised a lot more. Okay. So this thing's a battle axe.
I love the Tonto tip too, or I don't know if it's a Tonto tip on a 3-blade, but
it's really not a Tonto because it's not a 2-blade, but it does have the
chiseled
30-degree angled in chisel tip, which does help, in any kind of angle skipping and things like that, and then it helps enter into that bone and split it. I mean, this actually splits pretty well when with that 3-blade going, and it does split it pretty well. Single bevel, I still think splits bone better. With the twist rate being proper, it does break bone better. So now the other thing with this raised rib is this dished spoon. I'm going to call it the spoon technology. And if you look on a lot of expandable broadheads, for example, on those Tackor tips or Tankor tips, whatever they call them, if you ever notice, they have that dish on the tips. If you ever notice that on some expandables,
Yes.
and what that does is it actually disturbs and collects the airflow over top of that and stabilizes it a lot faster. Plus, it aids in penetration when it's towards the tip. So what this does is when the air goes around this, instead of it being disturbed with a blunt edge, that spoon actually comes and it like, just imagine it like funneling that air around there. Right?
Yep.
And that's what that does. That actually, we added that feature in there. We kept it raised, but then we actually ended up dishing that. And what that does, it doesn't really benefit traditional guys shooting 150 feet per second or even 200 feet per second. But when you start getting the compound speeds, 220 and up, with heavy setups, it really stabilizes that. And I'm talking accuracy out to 60 yards is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we think it's because of that raised. Well, that's why we did it. I'm gonna say that's why it does that. In the heavyweight, obviously, higher FOCs are more accurate when the air is tuned. But
Yep.
We actually have, I'm not going to name any names, but some high-end crossbow shooters and hunters have been testing these, and they are floored by the performance of this 200 grain. And we're talking crossbows aren't even on the market that are actually 500 rated FPS that are shooting these things at 40, 50 yards, and they're just tack driving them. They claim that they are shooting better than any mechanical broadhead that they've ever shot out of a crossbow. So I'm actually really happy with that little design into that. And I also think a lot of it too is a lot of the three blades, the cutting diameter. Now, when they say cutting diameter, it's not the distance between, let me see, not the distance here. It's the actual diameter, right? It's a round circle. So the cutting diameter is 1 inch, where everybody else is 1.25 inches, inch and an eighth, 1.25 inches, things like that. So obviously penetration is the number one factor, right?
Exactly,
it's paramount, right? So we wanted to take this three blade design and make it as penetrating as possible. So by reducing the diameter, it increases or decreases, however you look at it, the blade angle, okay, which obviously is going to give it that more of a 3-to-1 profile, which will obviously penetrate a lot better. And it also aids in deflection. Not aids in deflection. It'll decrease deflection capabilities if it's an off angle shot. It won't, with a big abrupt blade, it's going to want to deflect, right? It's going to want to current. So this actually decreases the ability of the blade wanting to. So, we took penetration really. That was the number one thing we looked at first was penetration. Then we looked at, okay, how are we going to get a three blade to fly properly? Because we were testing some of them and they were floating, like especially out of a compound. They would shoot and you would get rise. Like if you would group your field points, say, dead center, these would rise like 2 inches at times, depending on the speed. So there was a problem there. They're planing. There's so much surface there, so
Gotcha.
they were planing, but we're not getting planing out of these, even at crossbows in the 400s, 500 feet per second IBO ratings. These things are really driving in there hard, and they're accurate, very accurate. And the 300 grain is the same thing, but it's heavier. So, most of the crossbow guys, I know I keep saying crossbow, but that was the true test for this head for planing, and it did not plane. It's phenomenal how well this thing is shooting. So if it's shooting that good for crossbow guys and compound guys, this thing it's going to be
160 feet a second shouldn't be much of an issue.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be yeah. And well, in my recurve that I was shooting, it was shooting 160 feet per second, 630 grain arrow, and the 300 grain just passed completely through, buried in the ground. I was impressed. I was really impressed. And I think a lot of these, slimming it down to the 1 inch diameter definitely helped. And the animal bled. There was blood. We won't get into the blood trail controversy about everything. Blood is blood. Blood trails are all different, but
except the fact they're circumstantial and you'll be good to go.
yeah. So, but yeah, there's the 300 again. Now look at the 300, and then we'll put the 200 next to each other. So you could see the difference. There's a little bit of difference. So the length on the 300, the length is almost 2.5. It's almost 2.5 inches long.
And that's the blade itself, right?
It's almost like a 2.5 to 1. What's that?
That's the blade itself, correct?
Yeah, the actual cutting blade itself is 2.5 inches, approximately 2.5 inches. Couple. And the 200 is 2.102 or something like that. I won't get super technical with it, but it's plenty. There's plenty of cutting material there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
remember, each one of these blades is cutting something as they're going in, you know. So it, yeah, I'm really impressed with it. I was never a 3-blade guy. I've never killed an animal with a 3-blade, and then I actually killed my first animal this year with a 3-blade. It'll be on my arrow this year, that's for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. I don't know if you have any questions about that one, Schaefer? I mean, I think I covered all the real.
I was about to say you did a very thorough job going over them. So
okay, good. Now
I'm just over here, just like
all right. Well, next one we'll go with the against the grain Tuffhead, which is going to be, I'm calling it the little modern guy, right? This is the 200 grain.
That is what everybody wants.
This is what everybody, and I mean, this is what the compound market wants and needs, and this is what no broadhead company could keep in stock was a 200 grain broadhead.
Exactly.
Especially single bevel. I mean, they're seeing their performance. I mean, Troy, the ranch fairy, was getting emails probably every hour about, you know, the way the cutthroat 200 was performing. The VPA, I mean, they were just, they couldn't believe the performance that 200 grain. So this was a very big deal for us. Troy had some input on the design on this. It kind of, not quite, it's not exactly there, but it kind of resembles that Black Hornet that he really likes. That's from Magnus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but
I am.
And for some reason, yes, this is not 3-to-1. It is a little bit more of an aggressive cut, but dude, it works. It just works. We can't explain it. Again, you know, you take science and actual field results, and the field results are just showing that these little suckers, they work. You know, and then for compound guys, there's no weird erratic flight characteristics to this head at all. And honestly, man, this is on my arrow for second season for PA. I hope to take some whitetail doe down.
Yep.
And,
yep.
I'm really anxious to put this with with my recurve and see how it works. But this is a bad little broadhead. Okay.
Is it wider than it is long? It looks very.
No, it is not. I know it looks the looks are very deceiving, especially when you put them all together. It's like mind blowing. But there's really not that much differences between some of them. So this one has a cutting width of 1 3/16.
All
so
right.
we went between 1 3/8 or 1/8 inch and a quarter. We split the difference just because another model is going to fill in some void there. So that's why we didn't want to cross over too many of the models. So I won't give any more teasers. But
I was about to say I can think of an angry Michigan.
I know. I told that angry Michigan to be patient. Be patient. But he's gonna have to learn how to shoot right bevel. So, but we'll get into that later. So it's 1 3/16 wide. So it is plenty wide enough to do whatever it needs to do. Because again, penetration was important, right? And then the length of it is about approximately 1.4. So it is a little bit longer in length, and that is the cutting length of the single bevel is 1.4. And of course, it's got the 4-way tanto tip, the 30-degree tanto. I don't know I don't know if you could see that a little bit better.
If you put your hand behind it, it might zoom or it might focus. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Let me take it down. So there we go there. Now you can see the furl, which this is referred to as the furl, is full length. You know, it goes from the tip to the tail, and it also has the 350 rear end, and then it has a slight chamfer and taper. On the bigger one, you might see a little bit better, but it has a slight chamfer that goes down to 310 on the rear. 310 is 5/16, so that's a standard. Any component usually will line up with that, so it'll have a nice transition down to a micro or a standard diameter or a 204. So, and again, I know this isn't modern archery we're talking here, but this is compatible with even crossbow bolts. This thing will work.
If you're wondering, if I move my head to the right, I can't see around the corner still.
What's that?
I said if I move my head to the right, I still see the same amount of stuff.
Oh. Yeah, you keep moving around. It's like
trying to see the different sides of it.
So you could see all that. And then we have no rough edges on the furl. Everything is smooth. That was real important. We didn't want to have any kind of indentations or cutouts or anything to reduce weight. I mean, it's a bad little broadhead. I mean, this is gonna. We went into production with 2 times as amount of these as we did all the other ones. So this one I have some pretty big hopes for.
Yeah.
And then another thing with the dimensions, this is what is the dimension of this? I forget now. Oh, yeah, this is 70 thousandths thick. So
Holy
our
moly.
meathead 225 and our 315 is 62 thousandths thick. So this little thing, I mean, it's almost as thick as the 300 grain glue in that we sell. So you can imagine, you know, what kind of metal you got flying through the air with this thing.
I would actually be curious to know what you would have to do to them to get one to fail or to take significant damage.
Well, I tell you what, this little one, because it's short and stocky, it can take a beating. I mean, I have shot the tester one into the block wall cinders, through PVC pipe with foam in it to simulate bone. And because that's one advantage these little guys have is the strength. You know, there's not a lot of chances for any kind of tip curl or bending. There's not much there to fail. You know, I have screwed up the tips on it from shooting into concrete and cinder block. I've screwed the tip up, but a little bit of work with the file, I brought it right back. This one's pretty hard to fail. I'm not going to lie. As a matter of fact, all of them are. All the new line is very difficult to fail. I mean, under normal use, I can't see any of these failing, to be honest.
And you said they're all S7, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I should have disclaimed this, sent that at the beginning. So yes, they are all S7 tool steel. We played around with heat treats and different Rockwell hardnesses, and we settled in at 57. 57. You know, it can go either way, one Rockwell. So 57 is what we're going to advertise it at. And at 57 Rockwell, it is just as hard as a lot of other tool steels at like 60, 62 Rockwell. S7 is an impact hardcore tool steel. So, it also it resharpens really, really well, really well. What's nice about it, maintenance wise, you just strop it. You know, sit down and strop it. It really brings out the blade really, really nice.
Yep.
Yeah, the S7. We went through a bunch of different prototypes, and that was part of the prototyping too, was building this out of different steels, and then trying the different steels, leaving them out in the weather for 2 weeks and seeing how they perform, just leaving them out, you know, sandblasted, like, you know, shot blasted like this, and leaving them out in the weather and seeing how they hold up in weather. And I'm pretty impressed. I mean, no, granted, it is tool steel, it's not stainless. So there's a little bit extra care you might need to take, but honestly, under normal use and a little bit of care, you're not going to have to worry about any of these rusting. Because even a lot of stainless steels are going to rust with, you know, if you leave them out in the weather, you know, and long durations, that you're going to get some surface rust. And that's pretty much what happens with a lot of the good tool steels, you know, like the A2, you know, our S7. If anything, you'll get a little bit of surface rust, which comes right off with a quick little buff or a quick little, you know, sandpaper job. It comes right off. But under normal circumstances, these are going to be fine. But to take that one step further, the whole line is going to be Cerakoted. So the main part of the blade will be treated. There won't be any issues there. And we're actually able, because of the manufacturing process of these, we're able to use the better grade. I shouldn't say the better grade, but the well, it is a better grade of Cerakoting. It's the H series, which is more resistant to scraping and things like that. It's a little bit more durable. It's what a lot of guys with their battle-tested ARs and things like that are using, that are beating the crap out of their
Gotcha.
military weapons. It's the better grade of Cerakoting. So we are going to even do a better grade of Cerakoting. So everything with this head is getting top tier, top of the line, everything. So there was nothing was held back with this at this point. So the S7 tool steel is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Now this one is I'm going to call it the flagship. I mean, this is the 300 grain. This one here.
That just looks mean and beefy.
Yeah. I mean, so anybody that knows me personally and hunts with me, they know that 300 grain is kind of it's honestly what I've probably killed most of my animals with, was 300 grain broadheads, and then whatever from there. I didn't really care. This is, I've killed a lot of animals with the regular Tuffheads throughout the years, but this is what I wanted. This is kind of, I'm going to call it the Wojo signature head. This is what I wanted to bring out. So this is kind of what I wanted for the market. This is what Jason wanted for the market. So there's going to be a 250 version of this coming out next year. So right now I wanted to bring the 300 out because that's what I wanted to hunt with. So as you can see, it's a little bit shorter and a little bit fatter. Here, I'm going to show you this is the 315 Tuffhead.
Yep.
Can you see that pretty good, Schaefer?
Yep.
So you can see the difference. This is a true 3-to-1. I mean, you can't get a truer 3-to-1 than what you see right here. This one is probably like a 2.5-to-1, something like that, right? So that's the differences. Because I didn't want to rival this one. There's nothing wrong with this broadhead. I want everyone to understand that. If you want a 3-to-1, then here you go. If you wanted something a little bit different, then here you go. Of course, this comes with a little bit more of a premium price tag than this does, but this is every bit as good. I mean, this has been used for, like I said, over a decade. So, but here's the differences. And one other thing is too, when you're machining a one-piece head, when it's in the lathe and it's getting machined, there's stability issues. So, it's very difficult to make an actual 3-to-1 in a machine without having a ton of mass there for stability. So you can make a 3-to-1, but it's going to be like 500 grains. I mean, it's going to be huge. It is. I mean, there's no, unless you would vent the crap out of it or something afterwards, I don't know. It's very difficult. So I didn't want to, we already have a great product right here with the 315 and the 265. So there was no reason to rival this. So that's why we went with a different view, right? Because this design, there's a couple other heads that are similar to this that have been proven, and it works. So the dimensions on this is this one is 1 1/8 inches. So this is 1 1/8 inches wide, because again, we wanted to keep it as close to a 3-to-1 style profile. So that is 1 1/8 inches wide by it's 2 point, what the hell was it long? Yeah, it's almost 2.5. It's like 2.4 or something long. So it's like a 2.5-to-1, we'll call it. Okay, and it is 74,000 sticks. So it's pretty stout.
Yeah.
And again, it's got the Tanto tip, and everything like that.
Yep.
And it's got the everything. And then I don't know if you can see. I'll try to zoom in here or get it in there. What I want to show you is, it's got the big 350 rear, but I don't know if you can see that chamfer at the end.
I can, yep.
And it chamfers down, so it lines up really nice. As a matter of fact, I have a this is a micro. This is actually this is a serious arrow here. This is a micro. So, this is your typical insert-outsert system, and all adapters come out to 310. That's pretty standard, right? That's a standard. Yep. So you can see what we did was we made sure that it lined up really. What were we at?
There you go.
I don't know if you can see it or not.
It's coming in good enough to make it out.
Yeah, so it just has a nice transition down right there. You know what I mean? Then we just chamfered it so that whenever you use the larger diameter, let me get a standard diameter shaft. Yeah, here's like a Maxim Red. Oh, no, not that one.
I'd hand you one, but it probably wouldn't work that well.
Now here we go. Here's that Black Eagle Vintage, right? And this, it's a standard diameter shaft with just an insert in it. Where we're at, just an insert in it. Okay, so which again is around 310 is what is standard. So when you screw that in, it lines up really, really. Oh, there we go. Really, really nice. It has a nice transition right there. And I don't have a crossbow bolt here, but I would show you, obviously there's a little chamfer right there, but it when you look down it, straight on it, you can't see the shaft. That broadhead just covers that up. So, it helps, if any crossbow guys, because I actually got a lot of inquiries last year for the 315 and everything for crossbows. So I wanted to keep those guys in the loop on this. I didn't want to just make a broadhead for traditional guys or make a broadhead for, compound guys. So I wanted to just bring a whole new lineup that, I wanted to play with, I wanted to bring out, and it's bringing Tuffhead into, a new world of making broadheads. So now we can really open up the doors and create different style heads. So, but yeah, that's the 300. So, what I'll do, Schaefer, when we're done, I'll take a picture of them all sandblasted next to each other, lined up, and then maybe you can post that at the end or something. A picture. I don't know if you can do that or not. Edit it in.
I should be able to.
Yeah. But here's the two next to each other. That's the 200 and then the 300.
Yeah.
So you can see.
That 300 just looks freaking beefy.
Well, this is going to be, this is going on my moose hunt this year. I'm actually going to hunt, I'm going to hunt red stag, probably late winter. and then I'm going to, which, it's elk-sized animal. It's going to be, I'm still debating whether to try the 200 on it, but using a recurve, I'd rather have the higher mechanical advantage of the 300. So this is probably after late season, and I hopefully take a couple doe down with this. This is going to go, I'm going to retune everything up. I actually have a new riser coming. I'd love to talk about it, but I'm not allowed. This is going to, I'm going to reset everything up and get it up around 50 pounds. And this will be on my arrow. This and are going to be a 300. This will probably be the whitetail head for this year for me again. And then this one's going to be the red stag and moose. And I don't know, hopefully I go hunt something else cool. But that's yeah, this is it. So here's the two 300s next to each other. So you can see the how substantial this 300 grain single or three blade is.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. I'll try to do this. I need like a third hand. Here's the three. So that's basically all three designs. I don't know if that's any good or not, but you got the 315, the 300.
Okay. Yep. I see what you're doing.
Three blade, and then so there's the basically the 300 lineup. So you could tune in for 300 grains, and you can basically have everyone in your arrow and be good.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Persuade Schaefer, but this is a nice setup, right? And then here's our two, and then this will be the 200 lineup. So you can go hunt your elk or whatever with this sucker, and then you can have whitetail. Or you can actually both work great on whitetails or anything. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to hunt a moose or an elk with the 300 grain. With the mechanic, this actually has a pretty high mechanical advantage for a three blade. I wouldn't have a problem hunting a moose or anything with this. I'd want some energy behind it. I don't know if I'd do it with my recurve, but I'm sure people can do it. But that'd be a nice setup for moose. But yeah, so remember, those are all shot blasted. That's not the finish on them. They're all going to have a Cerakote. The color's a surprise. I think I showed you the color.
You did. I am trying to bite my tongue because it is awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool color. Yeah. Everyone has black, and I didn't want to do black like everybody else. I wanted to separate itself. And also, I'm hoping my fingers are crossed. I'm going to have Tuffhead engraved on them as well. So that'd be sweet. I really want to bring that into it too. Like I said, I'm trying not to hold back on anything with these broadheads. So I want them to be top tier. I mean, these aren't, these are going to get up in there in the high tier as far as quality and stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you found there's a preferred way of sharpening, like a certain, more on the hand tool, or I don't want to say hand, but like a hand sharpening method that works best on them?
Yeah. Okay. That's one thing. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So one thing we did bring in, and I know we discussed it last time, I believe we did. We actually, the new line, the new Evolution line single bevels are 20-degree bevel. All right. That's really pushing the envelope to a razor edge. All right. The reason why we can do that is because we're using S7 tool steel because of the strength and durability of the S7. What that does, not only does that aid in sharpness and penetration, what that does is, I'm telling you, man, you can feel that edge so nice when you're sharpening it. You could feel it by hand so much better than even a 25-degree. And honestly, you can almost work. You don't need anything tricky to resharpen these, and that was kind of a big thing too. Again, resharpenability. So you can feel this edge and work it on any kind of whatever your preferred. If you like diamond stones, if you like wet stones, if you like sandpaper, that works too. As a matter of fact, I kind of lately been preferring sandpaper on a hard, like I have a little stone, rectangular stone, and I just put some black aluminum oxide sandpaper and work it from 400 grit up to 1200 grit. And I kind of like it. The sandpaper doesn't last very long, but it seems to work really well. And it's inexpensive, guys. It's nothing, And then what's really awesome about this 20-degree bevel in this steel is stropping it. I'm going to restock the website with some sharpening equipment this year. One thing being a strop, a hand paddle strop has been so important with these things to maintain them and bring them out. Once you put a polished mirrored edge on these, that right there aids in anti-corrosiveness with that mirrored edge. So them strops, and it just brings out that's almost all you ever have to do, even when you pass your animal and it goes in the dirt, because dirt is the worst. Dirt is the worst against blades. It really is. It is the worst. All you got to do is just strop it. So as far as preferred method, I've been liking sandpaper and stropping, the paddle strop. That's what I've been liking a lot. I'm going to stock paddle strops. But what's nice about this 20-degree bevel is the ease of sharpenability. You can feel that edge. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. Even the original Tuffhead, with that, the edge is sometimes hard to feel because it's there's not much surface there too. You could kind of see.
The thing I struggled with the most was the edge in comparison to the ferrule, just because of how big the
Right.
ferrule was on the back.
Right. And that's kind of a handicap of this style, bro. There's a lot of handicaps to the classic. You know what I mean? It's manufacturing them up to maintaining them. There's some difficulties, but it's nothing that can't be overcome. So we took all that into consideration when we did do the new line. That's why the frill design, the blade length, everything had to be taken into consideration for resharpening it. Now, at the 20-degree bevel, you are hovering right at that furl. You know what I mean? It's right there. Now, it's not a bad thing. That does help a lot of people when they're sharpening it. Hey, if that makes you feel good to feel that and actually just let it sit there, on that, I don't know if you can see that, on that furl and run it, you could almost do that and then start bringing it back, especially when you're stropping it. So we took a lot of that into consideration. So that all aided in the design of the thicknesses and all that too. So, and that also was part of the reason why we increased the steel thickness on these, because we wanted to bring that 20-degree bevel in, and miss this this furl. The thicker steel is going to miss that furl.
Do you find the 20-degree bevel helps with the twist too, or like
yeah? So when you get into 2.5 and up to 1, we'll just use that. We'll just terminology, right? When you get into 2.5 up to 2.5 to 1 style broadheads, the bevel angle, honestly, it really doesn't have much of effect. That long, slim broadhead, there's not much twist difference. It's whenever you get into the smaller, stouter ones is whenever you got to play with those blade angles, because the degree of this pitch in the angles of the blade, it does affect the spin rate. And you don't want single bevels to spin too fast. When they spin too fast, again, they're creating friction as they spin through. So you gotta. So what we did, we started with the 20-degree bevel on the short guy because we wanted to get this design so it matched the spin rate of our original head. Because our original head is just performing so well, we would shoot it into media, pull it out, and measure the twist at certain distances. And we played with this a little bit, and that's kind of why we settled with the 1 3/16. It just had almost that mirrored twist rate as our 3-to-1, and our 3-to-1 performs flawless. I mean, it cracks bone, it busts through, it passes through with ease. So we wanted to mirror that in this little guy. So there's a lot of technology and thought into these heads, especially the 3 blades or the 2 blades that you don't see. You don't see here. You know what I mean? I have to tell you about it. So there's a lot of thought into these. We didn't just draw something up and say, here, machine these out, we're going to sell them. I mean, it's not what happened here. There's a lot of thought into these. But again, it's 2 different heads, but but we're proud. We're really happy with this 20-degree. This is a game changer, man. This 20-degree is a game changer. It really, really is. And I think this 20-degree on the short one is gonna allow a lot of low poundage shooters to use it, because there's the cutting force is less. There's less force to cut into this.
Yeah, just slice is awesome.
Right. Yeah. So that 20-degree was a pretty important thing. And then the 3 blade, it sharpens like your standard 3 blade. Flat surface. Now, one thing we noticed, I don't know if I discussed this on the last podcast.
I think you did. You got to pull it back, right?
You want to, which we're going to do sharpening videos. As a matter of fact, Troy and I are supposed to get together and do like a whole series of videos, but I think he already got on that. But yeah, whenever you have your solid surface, you want to apply pressure and pull it towards you. If for some reason, it sharpened better. I can't explain it. I really can't. You would think it didn't matter which way it went, but it really does. It really seemed to work better. And then stropping it, again, the paddle strop, holding it, I put some pressure on the bench, and then I just hold this at a 45 degree and just work the bevel, work the edge really nice, and you get this thing mirror sharp too. And again, that mirror finish after stropping it really, really aids in the anti-corrosiveness. again, but I don't want anybody to be worried about rust or anything like that. This tool steel is it's a high grade. It's a good stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, I still don't know which one I want. That's what I was hoping.
I mean, I guess it's what are you going to hunt? I mean, if you're going to hunt whitetails, then I would say if you're mainly just going to hunt whitetails, I would say the 200 is probably good. You know, I mean, you can put a little extra weight in the insert. You know, instead of running 50 grain, you can maybe run 100 and get yourself up. Because I always like, no matter what, I like 300 grains out front. You know, whether it's a 200 matched with a 100 grain insert, things like that. It just 300 grain out front always worked for me. I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had an issue with pass throughs or things like that. I mean, I've had bad shots, but you know, with having that extra weight, it just seemed to work. And that's why the 300, I know some people were scared of it, but I'm telling you, man, that 300 is just where it's at. If you can get your stuff to tune right and, you know, keep your shots to where you're comfortable, it works well.
I think this is 265 and a 75 grain insert.
Yeah.
So that's
that's
exactly over. So
yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, the broadhead itself doesn't have to be 300 grains.
No,
but you know, I think 300 grains out front is just a magical number, and that's where the compound guys seem to be. They were putting 100 grain inserts in and 200 grain broadheads, and everything was tuning with these guys. I mean, it was just strange. They'd work their way up from 125 up to 150, 175, and then when they got to that 200, it was like they opened the floodgates open, and they just everything tuned well, and that's why the market last year just couldn't handle 200 grain. So that was a big driving force in me too. Is I had to get on and get something released to the consumer for this year, because 200 grain is just for compound guys, especially, it's just where it's at right now, you know?
Yeah. I know my buddy, he was trying to buy heads closer to season, and no matter what he was trying to get, sold out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he was willing to play weights a little bit, you know, he wasn't dead set on a weight, but he could not get anything.
Yeah. It was difficult. I mean, I talked to a couple of the broadhead manufacturers, and we were all in the same boat. It was just hard to keep things in stock, and you know, we had control of our own product as far, you know, because we are a manufacturer, we're not just a distributor. So we had some control, but even at that, with our heads being so labor intensive, it was just difficult to just keep up with the demand. You know what I mean? So that's why we've been focusing from Thanksgiving, really focusing since Thanksgiving all the way till end of January on production. So we're really cranking out as much as we can. That's why we're doing that pre-sale, so that guys can get some orders in. So we anticipate shipping early next year, as well as the evolution. So we pulled the trigger. We go into production January. I guess it's January 4th, which is the first Monday after the holiday. That's when the evolution goes into production. So it is coming. It is a real thing. This isn't smoke and mirrors. I'm not putting teasers out there anymore. This is it. I'm super excited about this. I mean, I get emails, and I mean, today alone, I got over a dozen phone calls, emails coming left and right about it. So I'm glad there's excitement about it. I'm glad guys are still showing Tuffhead support. So,
now, are you going to make the classic line in the S7?
No, I can't.
No,
no. See, that's the other thing too.
I didn't know if you were going to stamp it. I didn't know if S7
no, you can't. So you
can't.
You can't stamp tool steel. You can't stamp and form tool steel because you can't anneal it. Annealing is softening the steel.
Gotcha.
I have to run it through a decoiler and run it into a press, a progressive press. So it has to be soft. The steel has to be annealed into a softened state. So even if the steel can be annealed, it has to be annealed. It has to be able to be annealed soft enough to be stamped and formed. Some are still too brittle at that stage, and they'll crack. You know what I mean? And it destroys the dies. So I mean, because you have to imagine it's tool steel dies, stamped and pressed in tool steel. It just doesn't work very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, our dies are made out of S7 tool steel. So, and they've been around for 12 years, and they're still pressing out. You know, they're still pressing out Tuffheads. So, no, our original classics. You know, that's why we went into this one-piece monolithics, because, you know, I couldn't really play with too many steels. My hands were tied with it. So, again, it's been around for over a decade. There's nothing wrong with it. We're going to keep producing it. They perform year after year. But I did mention we are working on a new steel for the for the classics. We just ran the press and press dot over 3,000 blanks, and it pressed fantastic at the annealed state, which I was the first. Fingers crossed. I hope it works, and it did. It's a kind of a proprietary steel. It's a good blend of a high carbon content stainless. So it doesn't have some of the carbides that the 420 has that we use, which if they're heat treated properly, they work. I'm just trying to find a happy balance for the two so that I can make production a little easier and work on it. But so far we pressed it. It's working. It's pressing very well. They're pressing out even and everything. And then I just started welding. As a matter of fact, my buddy's coming over tomorrow to continue welding on them, and they're welding up great. So hopefully Schaefer will have some of them, and I'll get you a couple to play with. The targeted weight is 200 grains. So
that'll be awesome.
You could put a 75 grain, 100 grain insert into it and have 300 grains out front, so so far I'm impressed. It's a nice blend of what we thought. We took all the good qualities of the stainless we use, and we took the good qualities of carbon steel, put them together, and went with it. So so far so good. We were a little worried because at the annealed state, it's a little bit pushing the boundaries of how hard it can be in a softened state, but it worked and it stamped really well. I'm sure it beat up my dies a little more than I wanted it to, but it worked. So, because we just had to shim the damn dies to run our carbon steel. So I know I beat it up a little bit. So, but yeah, that's coming too. I have a bunch of people. As a matter of fact, Colton, who you had on last, yeah. He's been after me for I think a year and a half on that steel, because I was trying to do it last year, but we just couldn't get the press time to press it. So he's actually high up on the list to get him too. So he's already private messaging me on Instagram about it. So I know we were talking about that. But,
yeah. Him and I, after we got done that podcast, other than talking for another 2 hours and I guess timing out a Skype call, which I didn't know was possible, we started talking about resistance and like broadheads after they go through the skin, and just he started nerding out as he was saying it quite a bit about broadheads. I'm like, we got to get him and Jason on at the same time. That would just be such a cool conversation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. It's amazing what the broadhead has to do as it's passing through an animal. And one big thing, I don't know if a lot of people are even aware of it, but edge retention is huge. So edge retention is how well this blade, you got a razor sharp, right? And you shoot through an animal, how well that edge maintains its sharpened state passing through an animal. A lot of things can happen and dull that blade as it goes through an animal. So when you pull it out of the ground, it might not have dulled when it went in the ground. It could have dulled going through an animal. So that's the studies that we're trying to figure out now. And it's pretty hard to do that when you're passing through all the time and burying your broadhead. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, and I don't just mean mine. It's been, a lot of broadheads, the design is so good that we're passing through, even with, good recurves, we're passing through. So, we're trying to catch the broadhead before it goes into the dirt to see how well the edge retention is through animals. Because when you're going after like a Cape Buffalo or a big pig down south, these animals are covered in mud and dirt and grime.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said earlier in this podcast, dirt and grime in the ground, in the earth, is the worst thing for a broadhead as far as edge retention and keeping that edge integrity. So it's like we're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, and it's a very difficult study to
do consistently.
Do consistently. Yeah, without having someone with a catcher's mitt standing behind the Cape Buffalo, right, trying to catch the broadhead. I mean, so but as far as killing animals, all these broadheads are killing animals just good. The most important thing is penetration, 2 holes, get it through there. You know what I mean? And use what you're confident in and what what broadhead you feel is confident. So that's the end of the day. So, I mean, 3-to-1 is the penetrating head out there. Everything being equal, 3-to-1 is going to out penetrate. Everything being equal, right? In a weight, things like that, same broadhead, same setup and everything. 3-to-1 is going to out penetrate. But it doesn't mean it's the be all end all broadheads. I mean, that's why we designed some of these other ones, these other single bevels, because there is room for other broadheads to come out and they perform just as well. But the main driver behind this was I wanted to do it. I wanted to have fun, and I wanted to bring some more broadheads out to the market. And it would have cost me way too much to make new dies and go through all this labor intensive process again, and it's just going to drive me crazy. I mean, so the monolithic one piece was where it was at, and we're super excited. And when I say modern archery was the driving force, yes, I do mean compound, and I do mean crossbow, like we said before. I'm not against crossbows or anything, but I also mean, like me, for example, I shoot a modern style traditional bow. I shoot an ILF metal riser with super recurve limbs. I mean, I could push the limits on maybe what a broadhead can do under normal circumstances than maybe something else. So, these traditional bows now, even some of the long bows with the technology we're bringing in with carbon and things like that, we can push the limits with broadheads now. So, I mean, there's just so many other designs out there that we have in our head that we're going to bring on. I don't want to just be tied to one specific thing.
I was about to say, I mean, worst case scenario, if you make them to handle something significantly more, they're just going to work that much better.
Right.
So
right. Exactly. Yeah.
It'd be hard to fault you for that.
yeah. Right. And these aren't for just modern archery. This is for anybody can use it. I mean, traditional guys use 3 blades all the time. I mean, there's guys that's all they will use. As a matter of fact, there's a guy, a good friend of Troy's, Killing Machine. This guy's a Killing Machine. He has our 200 grain 3 blade and single bevels done. I want to say Alabama, but I could be wrong. I don't remember what state he's from. Troy had something to do with that, but the guy swears by 3 blades, and he's killed, honestly, probably thousands and thousands of animals, and mainly with 3 blades. I mean, the dude just travels and kills shit with 3 blades. So, I didn't want to overlook the 3 blade. I kept getting asked about it, so we dove into it. And quite frankly, I like it. I like it on whitetails, man. I really do. I was really happy with it on whitetails. I'd like to kill a pig with it and see what it does with a pig. But I'd probably have to jack my weight up a little bit. I mean, right now for late season, I tuned everything down to 45 pounds. So that's why I'm going to use the 200 grain.
Yeah.
It's a little less mass there. That single bevel will probably do really nice on that. So it's a little bit lighter of a setup, arrow-wise and everything too, that I'm used to shooting, but it's fine.
Yeah, a cold evening in a stand.
Yeah.
The heavy bow starts to.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, I've been there, and I don't care. You can call whoever a wimp all you want. I mean, last year I went with a 40-pound bow because I mean I know what it's like. You're up there in 17-degree weather, and finally that deer comes out at 6 o'clock after you've been sitting there for 12 hours. No, you need it. I'm sorry, but as a matter of fact, I just got a brand new Kuiu Puffy just came in. That'll be and I bought a electric vest.
Oh,
I'm actually going to go with an electric vest this year. Yeah. Friend of mine uses it and he swears by it. So I'm going to try that out. And then they keep you in a stand a little bit longer.
Yeah. I remember the year I hunted with my 66-pound limbs on my silver tip. That was rough in the cold.
Oh man. I don't know how you did.
I don't know what cracked more, the bow or me.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. It's called not having good form. That's pretty much what makes it work.
Yeah, being able to snap shoot.
Yeah, if you don't hold it, it's not that bad.
Yeah, no. And let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, that's the lineup, dude. Hopefully the video showed some of it really well. I'll take a picture, like I said, and hopefully we can implement that into the video. But,
I'll even try to
that's it again.
I'll try to overlay it in like the bottom corner too, just so it's there the entire video.
There. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I'll because these are all shot blasted too. Like I said, when they're shot blasted, that silver just really brings out the details and some of the some of the details in the heads. When they were black, it was kind of hard to tell some of the features on it, but. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of thought into these. I mean, none of these are copied by anything. I mean, they're just taking designs that work and we just made them better is what we did. And, there's little things here and there. And there's like the main thing is with that 20-degree bevel. I mean, that took a lot of tweaking of different angles and stuff to get it to work. And and this little sucker was not easy to develop. I mean, because of the angles and trying to get it all right and implement the large diameter ferrule with a 20-degree bevel. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but it really, really was. There was a lot of banging your head off the wall, figuring out how to do it. But we got it. I got a good machine shop helping me out, and they good CAD operator that, you know, knows his stuff. So hats off to them for helping me on this one, because I don't own the equipment for this. I didn't have $250,000 to spend on this. You know, I spent enough on R&D. Hopefully someday I'll get my own CNC and I'll be able to make these myself. But you know, I am working with a local shop on this one, so hopefully whenever it comes to produce more, I can hit another slow period and get more in production if the demand requires it. So
yeah, no, those are awesome. I have a feeling they'll,
yeah.
from my point of view, I think they'll do well. I mean, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, so far the you know, the traffic, you know, putting some stuff out there, it's been the feedback has been very, very positive.